So around August every year, the RIMPAC Games happen, right? And for those who don't know, the RIMPAC Games are essentially war games where the United States invites other countries um, to do these naval war games, and they've been being protested for decades now by Kanakas, and they represent a sort of to me, I think RIMPAC represents like an attempt at solidarity amongst imperialists, but it's just so funny, like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and I'm just like, okay, well, that's weak. And the RIMPAC Games, in addition to exacerbating the pollution of Kanaka lands, exacerbating the presence of the foot soldiers of occupation, also exacerbates things like the sex trade and rampant sex trafficking that happens. I remember we were like shocked last when we were visiting because there was this Budweiser ad, and we can't remember for the life of us what it said, but it basically said something along the lines of like, "Enjoy a beer and enjoy our women too." Like wild, blatant. Like it was disgusting. I wish I could remember what it said, but um, just while we wrap up here, my battery's gonna die soon. I was just wondering if you could talk to us about the RIMPAC Games and any organizing that might be planned around it.
The Rim of the Pacific War Games that happen in Hawaii every 2 years. Oh yeah, they're basically like an imperialist summit where the United States and NATO countries and all of their pliant vassal states get together to bomb the shit out of Hawaii's land and waters. There are other war games outside of Hawaii that happen during RIMPAC, but the main exercises are done on Hawaiian lands and in the near shore Pacific area. And so I have actually been to some of the military drills with Empire files like Abby Martin uh, to see what that actually looks like. And I have never seen crazier shit in my life. Like, it is almost like a nightmare Disneyland. Um, in particular, like in Waimanalo, uh, they do kind of like amphibious landings on Waimanalo Beach, but on the shore, on land, on the land in Waimanalo Beach, they have these giant fences that I'd never seen the other side of for most of my childhood and adult life until this, we were press and we somehow got in with the rest of the press gaggle into an armored car and into the place where they practice home raids. And I get out of this armored vehicle, and there is basically the size of like a Hollywood Western set with a bunch of like just a melange of different kind of cultural signifiers from all of the countries that we have invaded or want to invade. And by the time we get into what is essentially a compound that all of these imperialist countries take turns practicing a home invasion on, I have my camera set up and I see them opening the door to one of these places, and I'm like, oh my god, that's a portrait of Kim Jong Un and Kim Jong Un, and and so they're basically practicing like a home raid of a place like the DPRK, but the outside of it looks like Mosul, or like Baghdad, like that's what the architecture looks like. But then the alleyways look like something in Cuba, where you see like an antique car, like you'll see things like a cattle drawn cart, or like white clothes hanging from a drying line, and it is really disturbing to see them, with actual weapons, practicing how to kill their own people, or kill the people that they want to occupy. And in RIMPAC, countries like Indonesia and Sri Lanka have been invited to specific and the Philippines to practice war on their own people. But Israel has also been invited. Yeah, yeah, Chile, yeah. But so Israel has been invited, I believe, to the last 3 RIMPACs, and they will be invited to this one as well. And Germany will also be coming to potentially revisit the idea of bringing back their navy along with Japan. So we've got a redux of the Axis powers with RIMPAC as kind of its foundation. So this is in addition to all of the major contamination that happens as a result of these war games. This is why all oppressed people of the world should be keeping their eyes on Hawaii during RIMPAC and expressing solidarity for a Native Hawaiian struggle against it, because this is to practice war on all colonized peoples around the world, and specifically China, right? They really are going to focus more and more on practicing war games against China, even though they will never ever win any type of hot war when China decides that it wants to reincorporate Taiwan. It's so absurd. It is based in a kind of like mass delusion, but yeah, RIMPAC is something that we will be organizing very heavily around as it comes in the fall, and our hope is to cancel RIMPAC forever. And I can't really go into some of the organizing that we're strategizing about because it's not a secure line, but we will have plans, and we will make sure to put the word out once it's time to implement them. So thanks for asking about that, because we want to prepare people to be ready to get mobilized around that.